This is the best I can do with limited resources. It's only 2 pages. You can type it up. This is as clear as I can make it. This is all blue. There's one spot that's black. Okay, type it up yourself. You put the full amount that's owed. Alright, I went on ahead and did a little spacing here, trying to make it easier. Looks better than when I even handed it to him. Understand, I used whiteout. Literally, I used whiteout. And I just scratched it all out and I put my names in. It doesn't matter. Okay, but make sure you sign your name in red ink. You gotta put your names in red ink everywhere. You can get this notarized at the bank for free. I don't know how to send it in a PDF on TikTok, but here it is. Go ahead and do what you will of it. Whoop whoop, much love.
Okay, remember I said underneath 15 USC 1605, they're supposed to provide us insurance. So what I noticed, if you go over here to the vehicle area, it says vehicle insurance. Sorry, I'm blind. It says you must name creditor as the loss payee under the insurance policy, meaning if I wreck my car, it's my problem, right? But then over here, they have creditor and you, so they're not even making me the creditor here. So they put me in the position, but then take me out of it real quick. Over here, you must pay back the creditor before the refinancing. So, and then up here, I wrote HJR 192, 31 USC 3123. Hello?
You are the corporation.
So, when you get this card, right? This not even yours. This right here does not belong to you. It belongs to the administration of the United States of America, right? You think this is a regular signature line. This is how they play games. When you get a chance, I ain't gonna tell you what this is. When you get a chance, get a magnifying glass, right? And you see this line where you put your signature, when you sign your life over, I want you to get a magnifying glass. This is not a line. This is words. These are freaking words. I am not lying to you. And once you find out what these mean, once you see what it is, go Google it. Go and find out what that means, yo. This shit is sad. But I'm here to wake y'all up. This is my purpose on this plan, so I'm gonna do this. So now we got you a corporation. That's why you gotta pay taxes. That's why you pay bills. That's why you work for money. That's why you're a debtor. That's why you're always in debt. You know what I'm saying? When they took the chains, when they took the slave chains off the wrist, they put it on your finances. You're a financial corporate slave. This is how they got us. Slavery is not over. It's still here. And it's used through this. It's used through this. Your birth certificate. It's used through this. It's used through the IRS and the debt notes. We gonna get to that. We gonna get to that. Right now we focusing on the Social Security card. This right here was your first ever credit card. Yes, I said it. Your Social Security card is a credit card. Your first credit card. When you was born, and you put your names on this, if you look on the back of this, them numbers that's in red, them numbers that's in red, that is an account number. When you was born, they put $1 million in that motherfucker. That's your account number. And it's worth millions. And this way to access this, it's called the Associated Trust through the Social Security. I ain't even talking about the birth certificate. I'm focusing on this right now. It's worth millions. Yes, it's worth millions of dollars. But I'm going to leave that right there. Look at Associated Trust, Social Security, Corpse, Straw Man. Google Straw Man. I'm going to leave this right here. This video 1, I'll be back for video 2. Stay tuned. I am not lying. Every day, chill day, rum day. We here.
Understanding the UCC1 connection. This will be a 3-part video summarizing all of the points that I have covered so far throughout my post, and also breaking down the importance of why filing the UCC1 is also your remedy, completing the birth certificate authentication process.
Are looking for a remedy, there really is only one. and that's the filing of a UCC-1 financing statement. Only through filing a UCC-1 financing statement and accepting for value your birth certificate and executing a lien upon the governmentally created all capital letters name by you in your proper birth given name as the secured party, and listing anything and everything your debtor owns, will own, or possibly ever could own or control as collateral in the security agreement, can you effectively and permanently remove yourself from the status of a debtor to that of a creditor and actually control property, have access to enforceable constitutional rights, etc. By filing a UCC-1 financing statement, you become an actual creditor with standing in law and acquire the ability to state a claim upon which relief can be granted and discharge any and all taxes and debts. By filing the UCC-1 financing statement, you cannot, as a creditor, acquire and access actual original jurisdiction constitutional rights, as the Constitution only operates upon the agent of government by and through their oath of office, to support and defend such and not violate the same, as may be applied to any man, in that any violation of such is a breach of contract as applied to the agent. The Constitution does not grant rights to the flesh and blood man or sovereign. The Constitution is a compact contract that the private sentient man is not a party to, as you have no contract with the state or federal government, and you are not a signatory to their social compacts. Without a UCC-1 financing statement, everything you have has been and is pledged and owned by the state. You merely are the user of the property and must use that property in strict compliance with all the rules, all of the use fees and taxes and regulations established by the state. If acquiring actual control over property and collateral, releasing your debtor from government controls, and the ability to earn a living without taxation interests you, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by executing that document without delay. To try to explain this a little further, few people truly understand the words slave and slavery. The biggest benefit in filing a UCC-1 financing statement is that you will no longer be a slave. The fact is, most dictionaries fail to provide an accurate definition of the words slave and slavery. Even Webster's 1828 edition of the English language dictionary fails in its attempt to define the true meaning of the word slavery, where it says, quote, slave, a person who is wholly subject to the will of another. Slavery is not a matter of being totally 100% subject to the will of another. Any person who is, to any degree, involuntarily subject to the will of another is a slave. There are no degrees of slavery. The second part of the second definition of slave provided by Webster's 1828 edition is, quote, one who surrenders himself to any power whatsoever, which is closer to the real point. The Uniform Commercial Code governs all commercial transactions in the United States. Any person, including government corporations, agencies, etc., involved in the sales of goods, commercial paper, bank deposits and collections, letters of credit, bulk transfer, warehouse receipts, bills of lading, investment securities, and secure transactions is governed by the UCC. The Uniform Commercial Code has been adopted by all states. To comply with the Uniform Commercial Code in your state, a UCC-1 financing statement must be filed with the Secretary of State by anyone who makes a claim against any other person, quote unquote, in the area of commerce. All government agencies, city, county, state, and federal, operate in commerce, and all of them, including the Internal Revenue Service, are private corporations, persons. All courts operate in commerce, all banks operate in commerce, all corporations operate in commerce, and all of these entities exist financially because we are their collateral. They borrow on our credit. At one time, our currency was backed by or given substance by gold or silver. It has been thought by many, since their United States took the substance of gold and silver away, that Federal Reserve notes were simply worthless paper, backed by nothing at all. That is not correct. Today, real people, you, me, our children, and so forth, they back the Federal Reserve notes. We back it. In much the same way that gold and silver did in the past. In other words, the living, breathing people guarantee or provide the substance for all money that is created, per HJR 192. The Federal Reserve Bank clearly states itself, quote, Federal Reserve notes are backed by the full faith and credit of the American people, unquote. Blind faith sets forth that you must trust them. Who? None other than the Federal Reserve System. Credit means something is due you. The Federal Reserve uses our credit to create all money. All of the money created belongs to the American people. And the deceit of the public and private corporations is so complete that they create it, charge it to us as a debt, and then tack interest to it on top of that. So how did the American people become collateral for the debt instruments known as Federal Reserve notes? It was given to the Federal Reserve by a corporation called the United States, the very same corporation that created the Federal Reserve. As was discussed previously in 1933, when President Roosevelt declared a national emergency because the United States could no longer pay its debts, at least that was the spin given to the American people. All of the subsidiary states agreed to support the declared bankruptcy by pledging the energy of their citizens. Their assets consisted only of state citizens. The states in turn used the birth certificates to pledge the state citizen as collateral to keep the government afloat. That's how the American people became collateral for the Federal Reserve notes and so-called debts. The American people became warehouse receipts, like a warehouse full of any type of valuable goods or animals. All of this, however, was, as you know, a major fraud. Neither the Internal Revenue Service nor any other entity of government files a UCC-1 financing statement into the commercial registry with the Secretary of State. If they did, they would instantly become subject to all the regulations of the Uniform Commercial Code. The Internal Revenue Service has done very nicely by bluffing and intimidation, as all others mentioned, by operating under public policy where there is, in reality, no law.
All right, y'all back again, man, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. This right here is off TDA, Treasury Direct. So what we have here is court cases that have been entered into the bond calculator. Whoa. Okay, so all the times you go to court and they give you a court case, well, that magically gets turned into a bond. So if you get a traffic ticket, if you get a ordinance ticket or any type of ticket, it gets turned into a bond. And what these bonds do throughout time, they gain interest. And what these bonds also are is attached to your Social Security number. And your Social Security number is attached to your trust. Therefore, looks like somebody's making money off of us. Who could that be? Anywho, so like I said, these are just court cases. I haven't even entered in my Social Security number, nor my birth certificate, or any other bonds that I hold, such as car titles and things of that nature. And we're already at 20 bonds. Once again, these are just court cases entered into the bond calculator. So if I entered in any more information, I would say we'd probably be at about 50 bonds. And as you can see, the total price is already at $65,000. The total value is $86,000. The total interest gained is $21,000. So once again, this is connected to my social. If you want to see what your bonds are worth, make you a TDA account. I'm not advising you to do such. I'm just simply saying, if you want to know what's going on, make you a TDA account. And then type in what you got. Make sure you make the denominations of 10,000. Yep, so let's get the ball rolling, man. Get in there, type those bonds in, see how much they're worth. I'm just giving out some info, man, that's it. I'm not looking to scam nobody or make money off of anybody. So everybody that studies saying, oh, he's another person trying to make money. Man, get real, bro. Not everybody in the world is hurting. Not everybody in the world is broke. And trust me, if you knew me personally in real life, like person to person, you could clearly see I'm not pressed for money by far. So, let's work, man. Thank me later.
Put on the money order, it needs to be paid to the order of United States Treasury.
Okay.
Written out completely. That way we don't have any issues of fraudulent errors or anything.
Okay.
It needs to have Christopher Fleming's name and his address.
And his address?
And his address.
Okay.
firm telephone number to contact him at in the event that we need to for whatever reason. Don't want to have any issues or delays.
Okay.
It needs to have his social security number or employee ID number or however you want to reference that. The number that you gave me is the number that we're looking for, so nobody else can get credit for Christopher Fleming's remittance.
Okay, and would I put that with dashes or without?
You can put with dashes, that's preferable.
Okay.
All right. We need the tax year that we're looking at, which is 2006, and the tax form, which is 1040. As long as that's on the front, not on the back. The back is reserved for us in this particular case. Put that on the front, as long as it's legible with the amount. That way we know what you're referencing. There shouldn't be a problem from there.
So I create the remittance and then I put the 1040. Is it a 1040V? Is it a 1040ES form? Which 1040 is it?
Have to put is 1040.
The whole entire form, or just that part with the coupon?
You can't put the whole entire form. You're just putting the numbers 1040. You don't have enough space for the entire form on the money order.
Oh, so I'm just putting 1040 directly on the money order.
It's the numbers 1040.
Okay, I see.
With the year 2006.
Okay, cool.
And we'll sort it through from there. You should be getting the letter showing the amount like you requested within 7 to 10 days, so that you can have that for your records.
All right, cool. So you guys will actually send me proof that it was discharged?
Once it comes through, then yes, we'll go ahead and send that out to you as well.
Do you know how long it normally takes for the set-off to occur?
No, it's case by case and the processing office, which is why we put your contact information. If there's anything unusual or any delays, they'll be the ones to let you know.
You know what? I really appreciate all your help. Thank you so much. I just have one more thing, if you could help me with this. So when I get these bills from these creditors, I would fill it out hypothetically the same exact way, except I would just put the 1040 and then 2012 on the top of it?
No,
Or is that only when I'm dealing with IRS discharge?
it's only when you're dealing with IRS. Everybody else's billing information may be slightly different. You'll want to ask them how they prefer to have it so that they can run it through their system. Not everybody's system is the same.
Okay. So I just got to get in contact with them and...
He set up an executive order where he declared and decreed that you can no longer traffic human beings. Taking the body as surety for a debt that the body does not owe is considered human trafficking.
My administration is 100% committed to eradicating human trafficking from the earth. My administration is fighting these monsters, persecuting and prosecuting them, and locking them away for a very, very long time. We've had a tremendous track record, the best track record in a long time.
He also moved the Federal Reserve into the Treasury and started to clean up the Treasury as of 3/15/2020. And when he did that, he brought back the IRS. The IRS was a fake service. It was always meant to be a department, an IRD, inside the Treasury, and he's been cleaning all that up. So there's an internal revenue department that you can use to report anyone who's trafficking your person. So this all sounds like hearsay, right? You're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot to take in. So let me tell you, I'm going to report a story to you. Good friend of mine named Kevin, super brave patriot from Missouri. Here's how he started to apply this executive order. Okay, so he, during the time of COVID, got apprehended in a hospital. He was there to see his son because his son was injured. And 4 police officers to the ground because he wouldn't wear a face diaper. They stole his wallet out of his back pocket, and then they filed a claim in the court against him. So what Kevin did, and what a lot of people are doing, is they're responding to these court cases. Again, it's a foreign corporation trying to contract with you. They're not a court. They're a foreign corporation, an administrative court, trying to contract with you, and what they're really trying to do is con you into drawing money from your Sesta KV. Because what they do when they create a new court case is they create a trust in your name through another foreign brokerage. They create a trust in your name, and they place 3 bonds inside that trust: a bid, a performance, and a payment bond. Now, stay with me, guys. So what Kevin did was, anytime someone comes and they offer to contract with you, you have to respond within a certain number of days, like 30 days. So he responded with a conditional acceptance, meaning, sure, I'll agree to contract with you upon burden of proof, meaning if you can prove that what you say is true, right? And so, so they can't prove that not wearing a mask causes harm, right? So they have the burden of proof. So, so at this point in time, he also responded to them with a counter presentment or a counter affidavit. And he said, because I have proof that shows that 4 police officers detained me, threw me to the ground, stole my wallet, etc., and accused me of something I didn't do. So here's my true bill. It's $13 million per police officer. I think it's USC Title 18 that gives you all these amounts. But it's $13 million per police officer times 4. And here's my evidence to prove it. And also here's a payment schedule for when you can pay me. And he not only did this counter presentment with this foreign corporation, this court, but he also filed it with the foreign corporation known as his county. So he went through a magistrate, AKA a notary. I don't know if everybody realizes this, but every notary is a public judge, a magistrate, and they can't rule over you. They can only see what documents are being presented. They're supposed to observe which documents are being presented and sign for them. So then he sent it through the post office, which is actually our courts. So this proves that he has a paper trail because he got it notarized. Then he went through the court, through the court of the U.S. Postal Service. Then he sent it to the county clerk. So all he's doing is just creating a paper trail. Then he also recorded it with the new Internal Revenue Department at the U.S. Treasury. So through the U.S. Treasury Inspector General. Now I'm going to provide a whole list of links of departments that you can now file these claims with whenever someone is trafficking your body and trying to contract with you, because they can't do that anymore. They're not going to be able to get away with this anymore. Okay, so then the court saw that he was playing hardball. So what did they do? They totally ignored his counter presentment and all that stuff. They hoped it would go away. And they spawned up a new court case. And they put his middle initial in the court case. So he wouldn't have caught it if he didn't catch the middle initial. That's how sneaky they are. And so what did he do? He responded with all the same steps. And he sent them a notice that the bill was due. The bill was due. The time had gone by. The 13 million times 4, which is now double because he's got him in fraud on a second court case, has all doubled. So what did the court do? Well, they knew they were in huge trouble. All this is filed. It's all filed. Both presentments, both court cases are all filed through the county clerk and with the Internal Revenue Department, which is actually supposed to work on. They're working on our side now, guys. You want to make them your best friend because they're actually the ones that are going to help us manage balancing both sides of the ledger between our Cesta KV Trust and our public accounts or our debt accounts. So think of it as credit and debt. Okay, so then the court, this is how sneaky they are. And you got another playbook. The courts basically filed bankruptcy. This foreign corporation filed bankruptcy and they ran for the hills. He could no longer find the 4 judges that had been assigned to these 2 fake cases. He couldn't find the lawyers, the prosecuting attorneys ran, the court clerk ran, even the brokerage company that started all these trusts in his name ran because they knew that he was auditing them. And so next thing you know, what do they do? But for 3 weeks later, they spawned up a new foreign corporation with a new LLC and a new Dun & Bradstreet number, and they literally changed the address, but it's the same exact courthouse. It's just a side door. So that's how they work. They just spawn up a whole new facade. As soon as they're caught, they spawn up a new facade and they act like no one can see them. But they're right there in plain sight. So one of the first things you want to do anytime you're dealing with any foreign adversary, in this case, the court, ask them who they are. Ask them for their oath of office. Find out who are you and who do you work for. And if they send you an oath of office that is all caps corporation with an all caps constitution or bylaws, that means you're dealing with foreign corporation. And a lot of people that Ann LaFleur is working with are getting out of their court cases by simply going in and conditionally accepting any contract upon burden of proof of jurisdiction. In other words, if you get pulled over for a traffic violation or something like that, you can respond to the court through the magistrate and through the post office. Don't give a special appearance. Just respond and say, I will conditionally accept your opportunity or your offer to contract upon burden of proof of jurisdiction. And they don't have jurisdiction over you because they're trying to operate they're trying to operate as human traffickers. They're operating in maritime, and you're standing in your honor and you're saying, no, I really don't want to participate in your fraud. So okay, so this goes deep. So that's one way that people are starting to stand up. And one of the things I've been really concerned about is like, what happens if this summer, like at the end of August, they start to try to force these things on our kids in order to go back to public school? Children in the public school system and the parents are accepting benefits. That's how they look at us. They look at us as belligerent citizens accepting benefits for their state or corporate, their foreign corporate offers, and we're accepting the benefit of free education. So by doing that, they get to set all the rules. And obviously, you and I both know we're dependent on these schools by now. You've got 50 million children throughout the country, the U.S., in state, public state schools. And that means over 100 million parents. And if they were to drop a requirement like that on us overnight, like within a week, too many children would end up taking it. So we've got to have a strategy. We've got to have a plan. And I think one of the best strategies is to report these states for human trafficking. Okay, I really do. I think this is the strategy. We've got to start reporting all these companies. So banks, state organizations or foreign corporations, counties, cities. Like I said, you're talking about every time they ever opened a bank account, they were drawing money from your SESTA KB. And there are more auditing tools becoming available to us. So like a CUSIP report allows you to pull back the amount of money that they drew from you in order to open your mortgage, for example. But that CUSIP report costs like $250 to run the report, and it's not like a line item ledger. So in other words, I ordered one of those for my home, and it said that it was like over 8 billion was pulled out. So I can't tell if that was because they bundled my mortgage in some cluster, or if that's the amount that they pulled out of my SESTA KB. But there are tools out there, and I'm saying just like look for them. Start to draw that into this new reality. Like look for these ways to audit, because pretty soon, like not only can we report them to these agencies now, but pretty soon these guys are going to just be completely exposed for what they're doing. Okay, so I also want to just report back what's happening on the field with regard to what some of these states are doing to steal properties from people. And this is stuff that's not making the mainstream news, so you don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, that's
but
exactly
there are a lot
what
of
they're
people,
doing.
like if they buy their house outright, let's say they've paid off their mortgage, what the state will do is they'll hire a brokerage company to pay their taxes for you under the table. They won't send you a bill for taxes. They're paying these taxes under the table. And if they pay your taxes for over 3 years, they can lay claim to your home. So then you wouldn't even know that they owned your home until you died and your all of your estate went into.
So if they pay your property tax, she is right, then they lay claim to that property that your house sits on.
Probate. So it's really, really important now that we learn how to establish our estate. And Ann LaFleur and Fearless Floyd are on YouTube, and they are running classes and courses. Again, I'll provide the links below. And you can find this video on Rumble at Our Great Awakening. I'm on Our Great Awakening on Rumble. And so you can find all these links, where to report this nefarious activity, where to learn more about how to set up your estate, how to learn more about how to get your land patent. Because that's the other thing is, like, guys, we are kind of in a big, I don't know, we're kind of bound by all these fraudulent contracts. A lot of people might say to me, well, the SESTA KB was built on fraud. I never gave informed consent, therefore I don't participate in the fraud. And then I was like, well, but they're still trafficking you. And until we stand up against it, this is how they can take over the world. And we don't even know what's happening, So unfortunately, because all these companies and corporations are working in lockstep, and unfortunately because every single lawyer in America are working for a foreign agency, they're all agents in black. And we got to come forth on that. So like if you're a lawyer and you want to start working, in good faith, it would be better for you to launch a lawful firm where you're going to operate in good faith and get it with Ann LaFleur and some of these people that are actually standing up to the courts and getting people out of court cases, because these courts have no jurisdiction over us. They really don't. They can't prove jurisdiction. I also have some videos that I'm checking out that are going viral of people realizing that if you don't respond in the court to your last name, Mr. Anderson, hello, Mr. Anderson. If you don't respond, if you say, no, I'm not Mr. Anderson, I'm Michelle. And they'll be like, are you not Mr. Anderson? No, I'm Michelle. Anyway, if you reply like that and you stand up to your lawyer and you fire your lawyer, because your lawyer can't represent you unless he represents you as a corporation. So the lawyer, we have to learn how to stand up without lawyers and stand up to these courts. And that's why the lawyers out there that want to turn to the alliance and come to the good side could really learn how to coach people on how to stand in their own honor and how to protect their own assets. And that's why I keep saying, guys, it's time for us to really back up against each other. This is not a time to war with each other. It's not a time to be mad about this information. It's a time to wrap our heads around it, to watch the wins that are happening on the front lines, to make those videos go as viral as possible, and to keep talking about this. Form our ecclesias, keep talking about this topic, because we're about to reign in a new kingdom of heaven on earth. We are the ones who
documentations that is still in full effect today, right? And then it tells you about your optional. It says optional redemption of the treasury bond at par before maturity or call redemption date and application of the proceeds and payments of federal estate taxes. So they're gonna, it's already.
Empress, let me get a second right quick. I just want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
We need to find out what is the form that replaced the 3905.
It was form PD 3905 that they have archived. You will have to call the treasurer and ask them to send it to you.
The actual 3905?
Yes, because it should have been in it should have been on the